It's throwing me off because it's like reversed.
Oh, yeah, it it does that. But if it wasn't reversed, it'd be like it would throw you off as well, I bet.
That's probably true.
It's that time again. Time for the all new Culture Cast, which begins right now. Welcome back, everyone, to the all new Culture Cast. I'm your host, Nick, and today I have a very special co host, the Kiwi.
Hello.
Hi, Kiwi. Welcome back. It's been a long time since you've been on the show.
It has, yes.
I think last time you were on here was uh, several Christmases ago when we talked about those Hallmark movies, the one with Terry Hatcher and the guy from
Wow, was that
Desperate
the last one?
Housewives.
Yes.
And
Well,
yeah,
we got kids and, life just goes in different directions when you're not, expecting it. So I haven't had necessarily the time or energy, but we're actually kid free at the moment. So
right.
um, we'll see them a little bit later today, but as of right now, we can do this during the day
I know.
and no interruptions except from our special indie
Yes, we have a
guest.
special guest, Indiana, in the background there. Every now and again, a cat will pop up on like last last time I did a recording with Gorehound. I believe Rosa kept like jumping on the table, and she was just being such a pain in the neck. Like,
I think you took a picture and sent that to me.
yeah, it's just like, oh, what are we doing here? But it's okay. Indies more than welcome. So, today we are talking. We're going a little bit different. Although we've talked about stuff like this in the past, where we've talked about the different shows and conventions we've gone to, but this is a little different. We're talking this week about the Bristol Renaissance Fair.
Yes, and I've never been. Well, this is my first time.
I'd been twice previously before. One when I was a little kid, which as I was doing some looking up about Bristol, I don't know if it was even called the Bristol Renaissance Fair at that time. Um, and then about 13, 14 years ago, interestingly enough, Gorehound and the Graveyard Queen. I went with them, and then yeah,
And you said that was like about a month before like we started dating too, right?
correct. 2013, July 2013, the three of us went, and then a few weeks or so later, it's when we started talking and dating. So
It's also I guess ironic that we just celebrated our 10th anniversary, our wedding anniversary, and you went with your friends right before we met, and now this is how we chose to celebrate our anniversary.
the most romantic place on earth. Although for our actual anniversary, we did go to a most romantic restaurants, La Culver's, fine French cuisine.
Because the kids really wanted Culvers, and I was like, you know what? That's fine. That's fine.
Which was very funny because I we were texting earlier that day, and you were working all day. Our anniversary was on a Thursday. Not a great day to celebrate an anniversary, but you were working all day. I was working all day. I'm sure neither one of us wanted to come home and start cooking. And I think I texted you, do you want to go to? And I recommended a local restaurant that we both kind of like, and it's not upscale, but it's not fast food either. And you were a little on the fence about it, and then I joked saying that one of our daughters wanted to go to Culver's, and you're like, you know, let's do that. And I remember I was like taken aback, but it's fine. But we're not here to talk about Culver's, although we could talk about Culver's. We had a very long conversation about Culver's food after we
We
ate there.
did. We did. Yeah.
But yeah, we're talking about the Bristol Renaissance Fair, which we'll get to it before you know we have our typical segments. So we'll speed run through them a little bit because of course Gorehound's not here. But Gorehound usually has his man crush, and I don't do the man crush. But in the past, you've done your woman crush when you've been on here. Do you have a woman crush, Kiwi?
No, but I can do a man crush, but maybe we should save that for later on in the segments. And I'll
Oh,
pop up.
okay. I think I know who
I'll
you're
pop
talking about.
I'll introduce my man crush later on.
Okay. Okay, that's good. Well, I also have a segment, which I'm sure you're very much aware because you listen to our show every week, right? Right, Kiwi?
Yes.
Um, where like what did Nick buy? What useless junk did Nick buy? And this week, I'm going to talk about
Ooh.
I don't have the box. I threw it away, but I previously talked about something similar around Halloween time. I picked up from the store the Angry Orchard
Oh yeah.
seasonal summer seasonal thing, which I could be a sucker for gimmicks like that. They have Tropical Storm, Peach Rush, Berry Smash, Watermelon Slice. And we're not
Have you
sponsored by
tried them
Angry.
all now?
What's that? I have tried
Have
them all. We won't get to that. We're not sponsored by Angry Orchard, but we could
I
be.
know. I'm like, I feel like this is an advertisement.
Um, Berry Smash was berries, kind of know what you're getting yourself into. It's fine. Peach Rush I actually quite liked. It reminded me, I think I was telling you before, it reminded me of
Canned
like those
peaches.
what's that?
Canned peaches, like in syrup.
Yeah, the peach syrupy sort of stuff, whether it's in the can or in those old like plastic rip open sort of things. The Tropical Storm was fine. People said it reminded them of High C, which I guess I can see, but I don't know, whatever. But one I would not recommend was this watermelon slice, unless you really like Jolly Ranchers, because it tastes like a liquid Jolly Rancher, which
And there is a market for it,
there
but it's
is,
not mine and it's not your preference either.
no,
So I mean, there will be people who like it. Just
yes.
yeah.
So yeah, so there's that. So that's what I got here. Angry Orchard Summer Blend, available now at your local retailers. So so that's that. So let's jump into um our topic with the Bristol Renaissance Fair, which is going to be a very localized topic. So I'm sure we'll get global interest in what we're talking about here today. But
You know what though? I do think a lot of the performers do go from one Renaissance fair to the other. So there may be some overlap in some of the experiences.
that's true. And I'm sure a lot of the Ren fairs you go to are, I don't want to say they're large the same, but they probably all have a similar vibe to them. Um, Minus perhaps the Ren Fair that was featured in the HBO documentary Ren Fair, which, ooh, if you haven't watched that, it's a wild documentary. But so Kiwi, let's start with you. What was your first, since it was your first time coming to a Renaissance Fair, did it meet your expectations? Did you kind of have an, based on what you already know of Ren fairs in general, did it
Surprise
were you
me or
expecting did was it did ex did you expect what was going to go on?
so I'm gonna sort of compare it to a convention like, C2E2 that we go to because I'm a seasoned C2E2 goer. Um so like I sort of felt like I knew somewhat to expect, but there was definitely things I didn't account for or think about. And I did go on like their website, and look up like the FAQs and everything. And um what really surprised me was it said you could bring in one water bottle. They did want it unopened, though they didn't actually look in the cups. So that kind of surprised me because I'm sure they were trying to limit the alcohol, which I get. And I did just put like a whole bunch of ice in, one of my tumblers. This is a 30-ounce one, by the way. And they said that there was water refill station. So I was like, okay, no problem. And there refill stations were just really bad drinking fountains. Not even like when you push the button, like there's like a large stream. No, it was like a short stream. So like you could never really, really fill up um
Your water
tumbler,
bottle.
your water bottle, um, and that was
I
that was frustrating.
I did see someone taking when they were filling the water, they filled up their lid and were like pouring it in like that, like a ladle, whatever
Ladle.
ladle. And I did that with mine when I saw this other person doing it. And I guess my lid's kind of deep with this one here, so it filled up pretty quickly. So I mean that's a way around it. You used your straw to help fill yours
Yeah,
up.
but that was a two-person job because you had to push the button and then
Yeah.
I had to hold the straw. Um, so the Ren Fair opened up, I think, at 10. We got there between 10:30 and 11. I can't remember
Yeah, I think about
exactly.
11, 10:45 we got there because we were a little late getting on the road.
Um, and the walk from where we had to park was really long. I did not realize how far we were going to have to walk. Now, I think there was a closer parking lot, and I mean, it'd been years since you had been there, I'd never been. So maybe we didn't pick the right lot, but it was quite a hike, which wouldn't have been so bad if like the path wasn't like rocky. Like you're
Yeah.
you're walking basically on gravel road. Um,
You know
so
what's I was about to say about that. What's interesting is the walk from where we parked our car to where you entered in the Ren Fair was probably about the same distance wise from when we parked at C2E2 going to where the line to get in for C2E2 was. But the C2E2 line seems so much quicker because they had like the flat surfaces and you're not going up and down and zigzagging your way.
like I was fully expecting to be on my feet the whole day. That's not a problem. It was just I wasn't prepared for all the gravel. Um, Thankfully, I did have shoes that helped. Um, they are so dusty. I was also not prepared for the dust that was to cover my shoes, and
Yeah,
they're
same here.
they're like black boots. Um, so it's maybe I should have wore like gray ones, but I want to make sure I could wear shoes that I knew I could wear all day, which I did. Um, my feet don't hurt, now. The and like it was some big rocks, some
Yeah.
big rocks. And the ones outside of the Ren Fair were like the really jagged ones.
Yeah.
So it I'm glad
I
it was just the two of us.
Yeah, I don't have the greatest of shoes. My sneakers that I have, they're fine, but and like some of them were like poking up through my feet when I was walking through there, so I'm like, ow. But once we're inside, I didn't think it was as bad, no.
It wasn't as bad inside, but there definitely was some parts where it was kind of like, just more gravel.
You mentioned about the two parking spots. I the one we were in was
Lots.
called what's that? Lots, sorry.
Lots.
Lots. The one that we were in was called the general admission parking. I did notice that. I don't know if that other parking was for general admission or if you paid more for a higher one. I don't know. I didn't.
Oh,
I
you know what? I do feel like I saw something on the website about possibly VIP parking.
maybe that's it. I don't know. Like when we were leaving, I was trying to get a look at that if there was like a sign in front and the angle we were driving at, the speed. I just couldn't get a good look at it. But I do wonder if there was a difference there. But I mean, it is what it is. I mean, all these sorts of fairs or conventions are going to not have the greatest of parking and whatnot. So do what you can do. But once inside, we were given,
A map?
yep, I had mine. I don't know where it went. I literally brought it upstairs so I would reference it. But oh, it's right in front of me. Yes, a map and a schedule of everything. Um, the map is deceiving because it makes it seem the fair is really, really big, and it is, but like not nearly as big
Oops.
as the map implies it to be. Like there's one section on here, like this Queen's Bridge. It makes it seem like this is a really long bridge. It's not. It's like maybe I don't know, 10 yards or something like that. So it's not that huge. Which
No, the Queen Bridge was a little, I mean, it was
like
long enough. It was
if
definitely
you
more than
were
10 yards.
all right, well maybe I could be wrong, but if you were by the petting zoo, you could still easily see the rock climbing wall. I do remember that. It's like it was in clear visual. It's not like it was like distance away. But anyway,
Correct.
I'm nitpicking, but it I felt it was confusing when you first got in there. But like by the end of the day, I kind of got my bearings a little bit more. I don't know what you think of that.
So, uh, C2E2 has an app, and I'll be honest, I don't know if there is like a navigation map within C2E2. I think there is like a generic, like, here's the family area, here's Artist Alley, you know. But we've been going for so many years that like I'm familiar with the layout. They've kept the same similar setup for a few years now, although there was a
Mm.
few changes
Yeah, but they're
with the
easy
main stage.
changes to know
Yes,
what they are.
to know what they are. And I'm sure the setup is the same for like the Ren Fair. I mean, those buildings look permanent. So
Hmm.
like you go year after year, you know your way around. Someone who's never been, there is no wait, there's so many trees that like I didn't know where northwest was, you know, there's no directions. There was one part where we did find like a giant map, and you were like, oh, I wonder if they have like the you are here spot.
They
They
did not.
didn't. um so either like a directional map like on an app, and it could just be like this. Like I don't need necessarily like specific stores, but if I open up the app and said you are here, well then at least I know like which direction I should walk, you know. That was a little confusing because there wasn't a lot of signage either really for
Which
where you're going.
surprised me that when they have like the streets, 'cause on the map the streets all name different things, but that they didn't have like a street sign, like in old-timey writing or whatever like that. That was interesting. But I don't know. Take notes, 50-year-old Ren Fair who's been doing this for years and us newbies who
I
clearly
mean,
are telling you
I
what to do.
I did gather that most of the people are probably repeat people going there, you know.
Hmm.
I think once you go, you probably keep going, you know, every year, every few years, you know. I wouldn't mind going back. Um, I don't know if I would take the kids, even though I know it is kid friendly. And here's the reason why I wouldn't want to take kids. Um,
Like what when you say kids, what ages are we referring to? Like our kids are under the age of 10.
um, it's not that there wasn't things for the 10-year-olds to do. And I guess this is I'll explain my reasoning why. Uh with C2E2, you're allowed to bring in any food, drinks that you want, you know. Um and we spend a lot of money at C2E2 like supporting, you know, the local artists, you know, we gotten some really cool prints and um whatnots, but you're not really allowed to bring anything but a water bottle. So you're forced to buy everything there. And I do understand that it's not like this is a 9 to 5 job where they're here all the time. It's a short window, so they need to make a lot of money. I understand that. But for me to bring a family, that means now I'm having to spend money on 4 people instead of 2 people. And there was a lot of kid stuff there. They had like these small. I forget what they called it, like a ladder, but it had a specific name to it.
Yeah.
And I think it said like $3 for like three climbs or something like that. And I mean, these were short ladders and they were barely inclined,
Yeah.
um, not even 10 foot, long. And I got two kids. So everything is times two. Um, the amount of money that we would spend on four people versus two would be a lot
Doesn't
because
even include tickets.
doesn't include the tickets. Um, so like I would definitely have to we'd have to scale back on everything. And I wouldn't want to spend the whole day there because I would know that the longer I'm there, definitely the more money that you're spending.
And
Um,
the crabbier they would get because it's a lot of being outside.
that is true. That is true. And like with C2E2, you can buy 1 day weekend or the 3 day pass.
Yeah.
We get the 3 day passes. Um, and it always amazes me that like we can be there for 3 days and like we'll be on the way out and be like, wait a minute, I definitely did not see that booth
Hmm.
over there. And I kind of felt like with the Ren Fair, multiple days would have been nice. So I guess my point is with the kids that it's not necessarily an age thing, but the more people you bring, you will have to spend more money. I do think
That is
there's
true.
fun for all ages. Um, since we're talking about money, there was a dice booth. Of course, there's a lot of D&D stuff, going on, and I've been creating games like for my kids to play, and I've been using different dice. And then they had this mystery bag of dice, and there was like a whole chest of them, and it was tied pretty tight. So, clearly they want people like searching through them, and that's fine.
Right.
Um, And I was kind of feeling the dice in there, and I'm like, I think that's like a full D&D set, what they would need. And it was $5, which is so that's probably the cheapest thing like in that booth. I mean, they had nice dice sets. I think I
Yeah.
saw one that was like $100. There was another set that was like 65. There was another set that was 45.
They're very
If
high
I
quality dice that they were putting together, and they're all like handmade. It's not like it was
Yes,
mass
yes,
produced.
correct. If I played D&D, like I would understand people spending that money on that. I'm not into D&D yet, though that could change. That could change. But I bought one of these and I was very pleasantly surprised
You got like
at
all the, not only all the same color, which I don't know if that's for everyone had the same color, but like you got one of each.
yes. So a 12-sided dice. Uh-oh, there's a cat at the door. 20-sided, eight, the normal six, uh, a nine, because it goes from 0 to 9.
So wouldn't that be 10? If it
I
goes
guess
0 to 9?
I guess. Um, I guess it is technically 10-sided, but it doesn't have the number 10. It's 0 to 9. So 10 sides. One that counts by tens. I didn't know this one
Oh, that's
was
cool.
a thing. And this one perplexes me. I think I've seen it before, but
A
it's a
pyramid.
pyramid. For a standard set of dice, you know, this was well worth the $5 to me. Because I can definitely I do have a 20 side dice that my brother let me use for right now because he used to do a lot of the role playing games. So he had, some of these dice already. Um, besides some tip stuff, that was the only, I think, real the shows we'll get back, but that's the only thing like we bought from like the marketplace vendors, I think,
Oh,
besides like food.
right.
Um,
They had like a lot of vendor stuff and it for a lot of Renaissance era clothing and weapons, some real and some fake. Um, hats, plaques you can buy. So they had a little of everything at that place, which you can get lost in spending money on that stuff if that's like
yes,
your big thing.
and I think you're the one who noticed that like it was marketplace weekend, which I did hear some people say that later on that if you spent $500, you could get like another ticket to come back a different day.
I can't remember if it was one or two tickets, but yeah, to come back sometime before the end of the year, you get a free ticket. Just show them your receipts at the front desk.
You could easily spend $500 there. Um, they did say, you know, the food vendors were cash and the marketplace vendors, a lot of them would take credit cards, which yeah, they'd almost have to based on now we didn't look in most of the shops just because there was so much going on. You
Hmm.
know, I kind of want to walk around, get the layout. They had tons of dress shops, and I know those dresses were beautiful. You know, dresses, the cloaks, you know, anything that, you know, from that time period. I know they are going to cost a very pretty penny. Um, so I also didn't want to get my heart set on something that I shouldn't spend that much money on right now. But if that is your thing, there are plenty of shops, you know. If we go to the Renaissance Fair, you know, more often, I could see myself buying something, you know, an accessory, piece of clothing, you know, to wear.
Would
It
you
is,
dress up as the Renaissance Fair? At the Renaissance Fair, would you get in period clothing?
yes, I would. I guess the one of the issues would be cost aside, hot because the fair runs from mid-July to Labor Day.
I thought it opened up in May.
No, it said July 11th.
Oh, well then. Okay.
So it's a very short time and it's in the dead of summer. It is hot.
Right.
And
Th-
there were people that had like the wolf,
There are
like a whole wolf
several. Like there was one person, and I'm not going to body shame, but I'm mentioning this because I think it's pertinent. They were a bigger person, I noticed, and they had full on cloak, gear, the wolf head, like with real fur. And I could only imagine how miserable they could have potentially felt. And, the heavier you are, the more it's going to affect you. And it's just like, wow, that takes some dedication to do that. I know I wouldn't be willing to do that, and I guess more power to them, though. I, whew. And we went on a relatively cool weekend. Like we lucked out that it was like upper 70s, maybe early 80s, depending on the time of the
It was
day.
in the low 80s, but you know, it did start to feel hot.
When that
You
sun
know,
came out, yeah. Um, but yeah, and the more power to them. Then there are other people just wearing chainmail, and like, how is that comfortable? But they went into it knowing that's what they were going to do. So,
I don't think that was their first time, you know.
exactly, not novices on this.
Well, I
So,
mean, there are definitely people at C2E2 who just walk around as cosplayers, you know, because if you're really deep into costume, the cosplay, they don't have backpacks. So
right.
you're not carrying like your water bottle. I mean, some of these people look like they didn't really have anything with them at all, which I will say I was surprised at how much people were drinking. Now I know it's a thing. C2E2 has plenty of what's that big uh they always have like a beer truck.
Wild
Um
Bills, maybe? Was that it? Or was that the
no,
root
that's the
beer one?
soda. Yeah. Regardless, there's beer vendors at C2E2, the like shortly after we got there, I mean, people already had like, their beers and I'm just
Day
like
drinking. It's 5 o'clock
and,
somewhere.
and like the alcohol lines are always really long. So that kind of surprised me too. Um, not not like criticizing, but like almost impressed that like you're gonna be able to drink the whole day. Because I think
Pacing.
I know like once you start, maybe they want to hurry up and drink, and then that way they'll be sober by the time they leave. I don't know. Maybe they already had a DD. I don't know. But there are so many people walking around like with alcohol that I was like, huh. You know, I have a severe gluten intolerance, so I can't drink beer anyway. Wine is okay. Uh, but I don't really drink much alcohol anymore. I mean, now and then I do. But I do like my soda, unfortunately. I was also drinking water with my electrolytes, so I was staying hydrated. But like a small thing, uh, maybe somewhere between, I think, 12 to 16 ounces was like a cup of soda, and it was $5. And I'm like,
Oh, it was five, I thought it was four.
no, it was five. You're like,
No, why'd you get some notes? You know, here's the thing with that. I won't get upset with that because when you go to these places, you know things are going to be jacked up in prices. And
oh, true. But I always thought C2E2 had high prices, and I could still get like a 20 ounce for, I want to say it was in the $3 price range.
that I don't recall that
I
necessarily.
don't think it was over $4. And C2E2 may or may not have allowed free refills. Because one stand did and the other stand didn't. And um
That was a whole thing.
that was the whole thing. Another story for a different day, but
But what
there
I was
was
about
no
to
free refills. Okay, go ahead.
what I was about to say, somehow I'm more forgiving of the Ren Fair doing it because
The
like
short time period that
it's a
they're
short
open.
time period. Like the food and stuff at C2E2 is backed by McCormick, which is a huge corporation. And not that Bristol doesn't have its own um corporation behind it. I think it's owned by this is owned by something or other, it doesn't matter. Um but like it's a very different type of thing. Like all the performers there, that is how they make their living, and same with probably the artisans and stores and stuff like that. So the heightened prices, yeah, I don't want to pay more money for things, but like I get it at the same time. Um, kind of uh but having said that, I do think the prices on things generally was okay when it came to food. Like seemed like $9 was the going rate for most food items, like the steak on the stick, the bratwurst, that sort of thing. Um, and they could
Having a
easily charge way more.
They could. Um, so because I have a really bad gluten intolerance, I'm very sensitive to gluten. So like things that could be easily cross contamination, I don't mess with it. Um, so that really limited my options on what I could get. Um, I got the steak on a stick. Steak on a steak, I think is actually what they call it. Yeah, steak on a steak. And they had these, another vendor had garlic mushrooms. And I was like, oh, I was thinking I could have like steak and mushrooms. Like, is this gluten free? And they were like, well, yes and no. Like, there was no direct gluten in it, but they said there was a lot of like cross contamination. And I was like, oh, never mind. Because if I was going to get sick, I didn't want to do it at the run fair, a couple
Right.
hours later, and I'd be like, oh, regretting the decision. It's not something I was willing to risk. So if you're not as sensitive to gluten, maybe you have a mild intolerance, you could probably have the mushrooms. Um, but there's definitely a lot of places that had like meat on a stick. I had some type of sausage, the Queen's, what do they call it? I forget. It was good. Um,
Yeah, the I tried a bite of your sausage and it was like that grilled sausage and that
it had like the nice
was
like
pretty
grilled
good.
flavor to it.
Yeah.
If you are a vegetarian or a vegan, you'd have a little bit more, I feel like, difficulty. Uh, there was
That's where your
one,
mushrooms come in.
that's where the mushrooms come in. There was one vendor I did see that advertised they had a shrimp tempura, but I also felt like they advertised like a vegetable tempura too. I felt like there was some like vegetarian like main entree. But I don't know. It could be fried with the seafood. So if you don't like
Oh.
sharing a fryer, there was no way I could eat any of that. So I didn't go up there and check. But your vegetarian and vegans would definitely have a harder time. I think there was like one place that had like a shepherd's pie. I feel like they had like a
Mm.
vegetarian pie too or something like that. So there are options, just not as much.
I wish I could have taken advantage, spending money aside, taken advantage of more of the food options there. But like after I had like the lunch, after we got there, I had the ribeye sandwich. My
Hmm.
stomach just felt really off. And I don't know if it was from the sandwich or something I had the night before, but like anytime I was in line to get something else to eat, I'm like, my stomach is telling me no. Luckily, by the end of the day, I was starting to feel a bit better, so I had a brat, but and I ate some more stuff when I came home, but like nothing seemed appealing to me, and I was disappointed because it smelled absolutely delicious. There's one um booth we went by that was barbecuing something, and it just smelled fantastic. But well, maybe next time I go, I won't eat for a couple of days so I could load up.
Um, I did have two of like the bigger pickles, Um, they're about maybe 5 inches, long or so. Excuse me. I had one dill and one garlic, and they also had a spicy option. I had the dill one first, and then later I went and got the garlic. I do like the dill one a little bit better. Um, oh, and I did have one iced coffee there. There was a few coffee vendors. Um, there's no shortage of food vendors.
Right.
A lot of similarities between some of them. One thing that did kind of surprise me though, that like the first place we went to, that we got the steak on a steak and you got your sandwich. Um, I don't think they sold any drinks there. You either kind of sold drinks or you
Or
sold
food.
food, and you could be next to each other, but you still have to get a line and go to the
Right.
other one. And
Even
so
the
that
same
was
space. Yeah.
kind of frustrating. Like you couldn't just go up there and be like, okay, I want like a burger and a drink, No, you have to get your burger here, you have to go down, get back in line and get your drink over there.
I wonder
Um,
I wonder if that's due to um just practicality reasons or if that's how things were back in the Renaissance era. I don't know.
I feel like that was a choice that they made, and I don't know if it was to keep the lines flowing if they thought it would be easier. I don't know.
Oh,
But
could be.
like I understand maybe not having the alcohol in the same line, but like you couldn't just get like a soda. Then you had to go when you were attempting to I think get alcohol and then you had changed your mind, you were still in line, and then I walked over and like the line for it was for water, lemonade, and soda. I mean, there was easily like 20 people in line. I'm like,
I will say though, the line that I was in for the alcohol, which was very long when I started, it moved pretty quickly. So maybe that is it. Maybe it's just easier to get like, or you got your drink here, goes quicker. I don't know. They've been doing it for 50 years. I'm sure that it works for whatever reason. But
um, there the soda water lemonade stand that I went to was definitely cash only. The pickle stand was cash only. Um, I feel like it was 50-50 if the other food vendors took cash or card. I do feel like more food vendors took cards and like the alcohol ones. And again, that might just be to keep like the lines moving.
I did
Um,
I did like when it talked about their the credit card options that said we take MasterCard, Lady Visa, and uh something New World Express, like American Express. I'm like, all right, thumbs up, I approve.
yeah, I
Well,
mean, but if you did use your credit card, there was a 3% fee with it.
which
Um,
if you look at it, it's kind of like just tax. Because when I did buy something with a credit card, it was like 30 some odd cents of what that 3% was. So it's like, but they also had a ton of ATMs with a $4 service charge fee if you wanted to get more money, which we did at one point in time, and I think we blew through it, but that's okay. Um, let's talk about some of the shows we saw. Want
mhm,
to change
mhm.
gears here? So
Yeah.
because we're very much C2E2 pros, like we had our schedule there handed out, and we took a look at seeing what shows we want because you always want to plan your day out if you're wanting to check things out. If you just want to wander around, that's fine. But if you want to see some shows, you gotta kind of plan to see. And so one of the first thing we saw was the jousts. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and
Was that the first one we saw? Yeah, I think it
I
was.
think it was because we got food. We walked around, then we got some food, and then we said, "Let's go see the joust because the joust is about to begin." And Kiwi, I think this leads into your man crush.
Man crush.
It does. So, there was 4 nights and we didn't, I mean, we literally just kind of like walked up to it. Uh, if there's any show that you're interested in, you have to get there, I'd say early because like the stands were already full and the ground was filling up. So we didn't know really how many nights. We didn't even know how many nights there were. It turns out there was four. And when they walked out the Black Knight, I was like, ooh, okay, I'm gonna vote for him because he was the most attractive one. But it turns out the Black Knight was for the other team. What we
We're sitting on the
had,
wrong
like,
side.
we were saying the wrong side. We had the Blue Knight and
The
was it
red and
like
gold.
a red and gold, and then the other side was black and green. So the Black Knight was my man crush of the week.
Um, and who won the joust? They have three jousts during the day, and they tell a story as you go through. Because the first one, they're like putting the through the jousting pole through the rings and all that, and the blue was it the Green Knight lost, and he was like, "This game's rigged" or something like that, and they had a little
Yeah,
argument.
yeah, yeah. Um, I will say, I was saving this for the podcast. I didn't say this to you at all yesterday. I am not sure, but at one point, when they're doing the jousting, they had like three uh like rings, and so like if you got the middle one, it was a bullseye, and it depended like on how far it fell on your joust, is how, like, if it didn't fall down very far, then you got the center bullseye. But if you got one of the outer rings and it fell down further on your stick. And I was thinking, like, these guys are like probably professionals. They probably would get, the center joust, every single
Hmm.
time. But I was wondering, I sort of looked over at their poles. And again, I don't know if this was just an angle thing, but it looked like some of the tips were more round and more square. So I wonder if, to make sure one knight gets the bullseye and the other doesn't, the tip would be bigger than the center bullseye, therefore
Uh,
it'd have to fall down. That's what kind of looked like from my angle. I just speculation.
yeah, I was we talked briefly about this. I wondered if because it's all a show, obviously, if like this is all predetermined, like wrestling, um, where that's all like, they know who's going to win, they know who's going to lose, and all that. Like if there's a script, or if it's an actual production, like each one's trying to do their best to win, and then based on who wins, it follows like, okay, the Black Knight one followed this script, the Green Knight one will follow this script. Like I don't know. I'm curious to see.
The the bullseye one is the only one I felt like they could have really um played the script. Like the first one, they used like the spear to like spear something off, and like they both got that one. So like you'd either have to hit it or you'd have to completely miss it, which I kind of feel like they wouldn't miss just based on how many times they have to do that.
Right.
Um, but to lower the points, they could have the tips different so that they wouldn't be allowed to get the center bullseye. But then when they were doing the jousting, they had a shield velcroed to
On their shoulder.
their on their shoulder, and like depending, like if this the shield spear, went through on their spear, um that was worth more points than like if they knocked it off. So I do
Right.
kind of feel like that would be very hard to script. um so that one may just play out as is. But I think they had like three different shows, and like the last show, everyone's last show, I think, involved fire, which
Right, I did notice that. Well, the jousting one, which we didn't check out, the second show was with the Queen in attendance, and the final show was a joust to the death. So I'm guessing that's when they actually like knock each other off the horse, I'm assuming.
um like C2E2, you can go and just go to all the panels. And
Mhm.
for us going to this Ren Fair, we focused more on the shows, and just kind of walk around taking things in, because the average show was 30 to 45 minutes. Sorry, she's going to knock over the camera. Um, so, you kind of go to your show, and then you kind of like take your time walking. We did like bathroom breaks, snack break, then head to the next show. So there wasn't like a whole lot of time for shopping. I mean, we could have, like, you have to make a choice because you're there for
Yeah.
one day. Are you going to do the shopping, or are you going to do the shows? I was really curious about the shows. There's not very good descriptions of the shows, though.
I meant to check the website to see if they describe them there, but they don't. I wonder if it's like a case of a lot of these people come back year after year, so you know what to expect, maybe. I don't know. But the
Um,
the next, just to move things along
oh,
here a little bit. The next
are,
show,
are we talking too much?
no, talk as much as we want. We saw the Fire Whip show, and
Yes.
I'd seen him the last time I was at the Ren Fair. I remember it being pretty cool. And what were your thoughts on Mr. Fire Whip? Adam Crack.
I didn't know this, but the sound that the whip makes when it cracks, that sound is because it's going faster than the speed of sound.
Yep, Mini Sonic Boom.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So that was very cool. Um, and the fact that you're like, I wonder if it's the same performer. And he did say, I think that he's been doing it for 18 years.
It looked like him in a picture I took way back when, but they might this like 13, 15 years ago, so things change, people change, but you get like a similar build. So
He was very cool. Uh, he did the fire on the whip. Like right at the end, it was mostly him doing like the cracks, which is still impressive in itself.
oh, the guy
Um,
that he had like the toilet paper and like right around him, he was like cracking it off, and the whip was going right there. That takes skill.
um,
He could have easily smacked that guy.
I do think then at one point then he had the toilet paper hanging out of his back pocket. I do think his whip slightly did touch the guy's back of his legs, but it wasn't when he was whipping it really hard. It was when like he was lightly doing it because he was trying to get it, and then that's when he's like, turn to the side, and do it. So I do think he might, but wasn't that like where you actually heard the crap. It was crack, he's going like that. Um, he was fun. There is almost sometimes, and it's one of those like, I get it. And this was consistent with all the shows. There was more talking about needing tips than I was expecting, which um, I feel bad. We didn't tip the whip player, but we did purchase some things from the other shows to help their tips. And you know, the show only runs on the weekends too.
Right.
So it's 2 days a week. Uh, so if you do like them, you need to tip them, because otherwise no one can really do this. I do think they travel from other run fairs, um they had we saw a whole bunch of campers, I'm like, okay, that's probably where they live, you
Yeah.
know. um
They just seem to have a standard script with this is how I make my living, so any tips help or something like that.
and it wasn't that they said it, but it was the amount of times that they said it, like before the show, multiple times during the show, at the end of the show. um it almost felt like it was starting to take away from some of the act, you know. But I'm wondering if they don't say it that many times, maybe people don't tip as much,
It
and
could
like
be.
they're not asking for like ones, which they said anything helps, but there was definitely a push for like the 5 and 10 plus dollars,
I just think of
and
a Charlie Brown Christmas. If that's too out, just tens and twenties, and Sally wanting the stuff.
hmm he was fun to watch. Then we saw the comedy show.
Oh yes, the
Um,
Menage a Moi
yes,
comedy show.
he was good. Um, Again, I think my biggest complaint with that was the amount of talking that wasn't related to the content.
Was there a lot
Um,
in that? I know he mentioned his CDs and stuff, but I don't remember it being that much with that one.
Maybe not as much, but I felt like there was. maybe just more talking in between the sort of
The bits.
the bits. Um, I was impressed at the amount of people who were repeats. Because clearly there have been people who have been to his show like more than once, and his comedy was good. Um,
Very, very, I know he doesn't like the term, but very dirty. Do not take your kids to him.
or women, spicy. He said, yes,
Yes,
spicy is
spicy.
now like the term.
Yes.
And he did give a full warning multiple times, no kids in this show. Um, and he meant it. And there was a couple of times where, I mean, he's still mic'd up. So, like, people walking by could still hear things. But there was a couple of times where he dropped the F bomb and he pulled off his microphone. So, like, really, it was only the audience who heard him say, like, the F bomb. But
Oh, I didn't catch
um,
that.
yeah, you didn't know that?
I guess I just wasn't paying that close of attention to him doing
Yeah.
that.
He dropped the F bomb at least two times, possibly three. And each time he took off and he was
Oh,
like, to the
you know
audience,
what?
yeah.
Yeah, when he said F you to the audience. Okay, yes, now I remember that. Yeah.
hmm So I did kind of look around. It looked like there could have been a 12-year-old-ish kid in the audience. Um, I mean, there was a lot of, sexual jokes. So
Hmm.
if you don't want your kid hearing that, because he even said, your kids will repeat what I say, and our kids have repeated things that we've said to us. So um, it's a good comedy. He did give a full warning.
Yes.
Um, there was the show right before that one. It was
There was a
D&D Shakespeare.
yeah.
And people were like, that was such a great show. And I wish we could have also seen that one. But, right when we got there, I think on yours, I had a pencil with me and we did go on the schedule and we circled which ones we wanted. And then we marked them on the map where they were
Yeah.
in relation to each other. Um, so then we saw the unbalanced, what was it?
Barely balanced, comedy and
Barely
danger.
balanced.
A trio of
Um,
performers and acrobats.
hmm And they were really fun.
Hmm.
Um, some acrobat stuff, some mildly dirty jokes, but
It was
um,
stuff that like you could bring your kids to, it would fly over their heads. They wouldn't
yes,
get it.
yes, they were hidden, I
Yeah.
guess maybe. Whereas the other show, it was not hidden.
No.
Um, and then, at that point, it was really starting to click with me. I'm like, these people really are working also for tips. And so they sold a D&D book. And this is the second one. I guess there's a first one, there's a second one. Um, and this was $20. Sorry, I don't know how to hold things on the camera.
That's fine.
Um, so I
Perilous
actually
portals.
have been wanting to learn how to play D&D because it's got, a cult following. It seems fun. Um,
I
and
know
now I have the
Gorham.
dice.
You got the dice. I know Gorham's
I got the
part of a
dice.
D&D group of some kind. You should join him.
Oh, yes. We can play now. Um, there are three of them too in that one. They sold other things smaller. I think you
Pins,
could
I think.
pins, stickers, or you could just literally, they had buckets like for cash too. And then we went to the Cirque du Sewer, and that one,
Cirque du Soleil. Fire Cat finale, the one that we went
yeah.
to.
So the fire was just for the last show, and she was the performer was great. Her assistants were great. The only thing that ruined the show was the people sitting in front of us. One, tall people shouldn't sit in the front. I'm sorry, they shouldn't. But that was not the worst part of it. It was someone in her group who I think they've been to the show multiple times.
She seemed to be the ringleader of that foursome that was sitting there. But
Yes, and when one of the performers' assistants was bringing stuff out on stage, we were in the second row, so we were right there towards the front. These people were obviously in the front, right ahead of us, and the performer had like looked at them and said like, "Don't shout out the cat." And at this point, they hadn't really said anything obnoxious, so I got the vibe like they know these people. We're warning them ahead of time. Don't shout out the cats.
see, I missed
Um,
that when that happened. You told me about that after the fact, but uh,
mhm.
that they were insufferable for multiple reasons. One, they kept getting their what do you call it? The pens, e-cigarettes.
Oh, they were vaping?
Yeah, vaping. Yeah, they were vaping. They
I
vaped a
didn't
couple
catch
of t
that part.
Oh yeah, at least two or three of them were vaping.
You
And
know,
then
that makes sense because at one point I thought I smelled something like almost perfumey, and I was like, where is that coming from?
the other woman who kept like I shouldn't say woman. I mean, she's younger, probably in her early 20s, I would say. Um, she was like just kept shouting like yeah, and kept like taking the pictures. Like it
She
was
she had
insufferable.
she had the camera like taking the picture so that like when she pressed down it was taking like a burst rate, click 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 click. And the thing was when she was doing that it wasn't necessarily at something where it needed like a burst of photos to catch like the perfect one, so that one kind
Right,
of like threw me off at the amount of times. And she was of course drinking, so I don't know if at this point it was later in the day. It was the last show we sat through.
right,
I don't know if she was just drunk or, but like she wasn't. The alcohol didn't help her situation, but I feel like she still would have been obnoxious had she still like just been there. Some of the other people in her group were still making like weird, like shouting comments, and it's like you're taking away the experience from other people in the show.
right.
You have no consideration for anyone else. I do try to be conscious of other people in my surroundings.
Right.
I was trying to take videos and I was trying to like make sure when I was recording, I wasn't necessarily going to be like blocking other people.
Right.
I was consciously trying to um, not block other people, ruin their show. You know, that part was frustrating. Um,
There
and
were a
then we did,
few people who shouted things out at the comedy show, and that was
yeah.
annoying, but they were like far on the sides, and it was like one or two comments throughout the show. Like she was just like boom, boom, boom every minute. Like, and when we were leaving, you could see the high performers. She was like a little kid, like waiting to talk to her, like hovering around her at the end of the show. But oh, so obnoxious, so obnoxious. But the show itself was pretty good. She had rats and cats, and they did tricks. And let's see, one cat was Sebastian, who was a gray cat and didn't do much tricks, but I think that was the joke. The other one
That
was
could have been
Yeah, the other one was uh pierogi.
Pierogi, and I don't think it was Grumpy, but it was
Sounded like grumpy, but
something
yeah,
along those lines. And I think it might have been like a food name or something
it,
related to being Polish.
it could be. And like
Um,
that cat kept like running away, which I don't think was planned.
no, at first, the first one I thought, okay, maybe it's planned. The second time, not planned because then it was like bolting away. I'm like, okay, that was not planned. Um, there's no way we could train these cats.
No. I do hope, and I have no reason to doubt that the cats weren't being treated well, but I always am concerned with um carnival-like shows with animals, and I'll consider this a carnival-like thing that the animals hopefully are being taken care of well and not, scared in submission by doing the tricks, but
She did say that she cooks some organic chicken breast
yeah.
every day, and she was giving them, the chicken, after performing. Um, she generally seemed like she loved those cats so much.
I think you're
Um,
right.
I and she was like, you can come talk to me about my cats. You don't have to give me a tip to talk to me. I just love talking about my cats. And I get that. I get that. Um,
Now you bought a pin from her, if I'm not mistaken.
I did. This was more expensive than what I was expecting for the pin because I started collecting pins. And so this one was $20, but like it's metal and it is double backed with the really nice I found out these, not the plastic ones, these actually lock. So that pin's not going anywhere because I've had some of the pins fall off that don't lock.
Yeah.
Um,
So, and then after that, I think we were both getting a little tired. It was like close. It was after 6 o'clock by the time. So we were there pretty much the entire day. Um, I'm looking at
I
there's a
think
front gate
seven,
show
seven
at
and a half.
9:45. Wow. Um, so yeah, we got home what 7:45, 8 o'clock or so by the time we drove home, and it was a long day. Would you go back?
Yes, we did briefly walk by the Barely Balanced people because
Oh,
they were doing theirs with fire, which, if I wasn't so tired and just like, you are in the heat, you are on your feet all day, um, I would have liked to have stayed for that show because they were doing different tricks and they were doing it with fire. Um, but then like, yeah, we walked out. I would go back. I would go back.
now you
I
mentioned
would
about
definitely make
bringing
sure we had more cash.
right lessons learned, which I'm glad that the first time that we're going at this point that it was just us and not with our kids because that would have been not a great experience just because we didn't know what to expect. But now that we do, should we go back with our kids? Um, we'll have a better idea and maybe a better way to go about things.
But I just want to go back like to the whole cost thing. For people who don't obviously know us, we spend a lot of money on our kids to the point where like we don't really do a lot of things that are just for us. C2E2 is just for you and I.
For now,
And
anyway.
for now anyway. Uh, but like the Ren Fair, we were celebrating our anniversary, and it was nice just to have something that's like ours because a lot of the trips we plan are things that we know the girls are going to want to do.
Hmm.
So it's not that we don't do family things. Um, but this one for right now, I feel like it would be better spent just on you and me. But that's just what I was my thoughts. So,
I will
but
say though, if you do bring kids
mhm.
and you know how your kids are, just be prepared to plan the day accordingly with any fun kid activities you want to do. If they're, I think our girls would have enjoyed the shows, especially the
Oh,
acrobat stuff.
yes, they would have been like the cat one too, you
Oh
know.
yeah,
Um, so it's not that I don't think kids would enjoy it. It's just costly the more people you have in your
yeah.
group. But if that is your thing, like if this is your vacation and you know you're gonna walk in there spending $500, then that's your thing, you
Yeah.
know. Um, but it just everything costs money, which I understand. Just know that going in there that, you know, tip the people, spend your money, just plan accordingly.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Would you
Well,
go
any
back?
fun? Yeah, I would go back. I know there are probably people who go like every weekend or a couple of times a year. I could not do that. Um, and I don't know if it's so much the cost thing, but just like the heat and walking around and all that. Like I look at a C2E2 and I know there are people who go to conventions every single week, which blows my mind. But like I could maybe because it's more up my alley, I could see myself going to a convention show 2 or 3 times a year, depending on what's going on. I won't, money aside, that's a whole nother discussion, but just enjoyment stuff. I think like you go once a year with the Ren Fair, I'm like, I'm good, but I would make it an annual thing. I think it'd be a fun thing to go and do. It would be fun
Hmm.
to go and with other people as well. Like I think it'd be fun if we like made like a family outing with like, your brother and sister and folks and all that. But again, as you mentioned, the more people you come, the more pricey it gets. So there's also that. I will say this, final tip for those you going. Buy your tickets at Menards for
Hmm.
2 reasons. One, they're good throughout the entire season. Well, maybe that's 3 seasons, 3 reasons. But two, you get a discount of a couple of bucks off each ticket at Menards. I think it's like maybe $4 or $5 off. I can't remember off
I
the top of
think it
my
was
head.
$4 off, but with two of us, that was $8. That could have bought like meat on a stick.
Right. But here's the biggest thing. If you are a Menards shopper and you take advantage of
Oh
their
yeah.
rebates, it's the purchase of the tickets is um a Menards purchase. So you can get money back on the tickets that you buy, like 10, 11% back. So if you do that at Menards regularly, um, you
And
can get
you
money
could have
back.
also used your money too towards it. Like if you would
Yes,
have had.
if you have a Menards gift card, you could use it, or the rebate money back if you had some already. You could have used it towards the tickets as well. So, um, if you have a Menards near you and you go to Bristol Renaissance Fair in Kenosha County, Wisconsin, right by the Illinois-Wisconsin border, yeah, go and do that. You save a couple bucks. So, any final thoughts on your end, Kiwi?
No, have fun. It's worth experiencing.
Alrighty. Well, thank you, Kiwi, for joining us. It was so good. I was just talking with Gorhan the last episode that we need more more female voices on our show. So it's nice to see we're already doing that. Um, and thank you all for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, I hope you have a good day. Bye. You've been listening to the all-new CultureCast. Drop us a line at nick.culturecast@gmail.com. We can't promise we'll read it. Theme music by Dana Vodovaz. Check out their work on YouTube at Vodovaz Music Productions. This has been a Saltwater production. Thanks for listening.
Okay, I'm gonna exit out because I was getting a whole bunch of text messages.